We are back, everybody. This is Buzzwords with Tony. You know, there are so many words that we hear thrown around in this industry, and sometimes we know what they mean and sometimes we don't. And sometimes they mean different things to different people. The latest one that I keep hearing all the time is the word tariffs. Now, I don't know if it's a good thing. I don't know if it's a bad thing. Everybody has opinions on what it is. So what do? I find myself an expert that actually knows what these things are and what it means. And so, Laurie Harbour, you are with Wipfli, and you've been dealing with the idea of tariffs and the industry and what's happening for such a long time.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's been back to 2018 when President Trump first put the 301 tariffs and the steel tariffs on, which have stayed in place throughout the last administration and are still in place. But now we have more new tariffs.
Right. So when people are hearing about tariffs, you have some people panicking, saying it's going to be the end of the economy, it's going to be the end of everything, and you have other people saying this is going to be a boost to the economy and it's going to help manufacturing.
Right.
What do you see in this? How do you either calm people or tell them what the reality of the situation is?
Yeah. It's definitely a situation of different reaction, right?
Sure.
Some companies are really scared. And it might be because they have plants in Mexico or they buy a lot out of China or wherever the case is. And others who are saying, this is great, right? Make America great again kind of thing. So
Yes.
we have to stay in a sense of calm and we have to plan in our business. That's the key. We have to understand the risk in our supply chain. We've got to be able to put plans in place to manage it. But you have to understand it first. And that's not easy today.
No. And that's where, honestly, I fail sometimes. Like, I hear the words and I don't even know what it means. Right, so when the last round of tariffs came out, it was like 10% here, 10% here, 20% there.
Right.
What does that look like?
Well, you know, the bottom line is that the president has the ability to enact based on certain, rules in his peer view that he can implement tariffs to help drive a multitude of things, right? So it can be anything from driving manufacturing back to our country. In this particular case, as it relates to Canada and Mexico, he's using this tariff opportunity to help get his head around drug use and immigration.
Sure.
Right? So putting the 25% tariff originally on, which was supposed to start on yesterday, in Canada and Mexico, was to get the government administration of those countries to the table to start talking about real issues. Now, there's two issues here, right? So he has now negotiated and put a pause on that for 30 days because he wanted to get troops at the border,
Yes.
particularly in Mexico.
Yes.
He's asked the Canadian, Prime Minister to create a fentanyl czar. So this is all about controlling immigration and drugs initially on that leg of the stool.
Yes.
The other side of this is we have this USMCA deal, which is the new NAFTA that he negotiated in his last term. It is up for renegotiation in 2026. So starting now, in the first 2 weeks of his administration, to get people at the table to have that conversation. He wants that negotiated before the midterm elections, because right now he owns the House and the Senate.
Right.
So it's to his advantage to be able to renegotiate that and deal with all things from economy to drugs to immigration.
So some of it is, it's an intentional thing to get people's attention.
Absolutely.
To say, and I think sometimes, we do that as parents.
Yep.
Where we're not super mad, but you got to pretend to be super mad. And you have to up the ante and push a little harder so that your kids pay attention to what you're saying to the next thing that you really want them to do.
Absolutely. And he's even said just this week, yeah, it's going to be a little painful, but I think the American consumer understands it. Now, there's truth to that. And as you said earlier, there's good and bad in this, right? I mean, let's not forget he put another 10% tariff on China.
Right.
You and I, working
Yes.
in our tool space, we love that, right?
We do.
So put more tariffs on China, make our tools here in America. That's what we want, right? My fear is that that's not really going to stop the Chinese from sending tools here. They're going to drop their prices and manage that well. But that's the kind of tariff we like. If we can reshore product from a China or a Southeast Asia or Europe or somewhere else that is not being made by our American workers, that's great. But we also have very big trading partners in Canada and in Mexico. So shutting that off and creating that distraction and potentially high cost environment does have an impact on our consumer. We make 5 million cars in Mexico.
Right.
A bunch of them come here.
Right.
Prices of cars are already $50,000. Average.
For not a nice car.
For not a nice car. So now they're going to go up even more. And, energy, oil, all the things that Canada is shutting off, right? So we have to be good trading partners within our continent, right? And I'm not implying that they're, we do have an immigration problem. So I get it. We just have to be able to balance. So it really is about getting their attention.
And I think what we're seeing is an excellence in shock and awe.
Absolutely. And notice that many of these countries are absolutely working with him on this. I mean, think about Colombia. When he did what he did with Colombia a week ago, right away, right? All of a sudden, they're taking now planes of immigrants back, right? So he does wield a very substantial power, and the U.S. is a very powerful country. Right. So nobody wants to lose that trading capability, but we want to have it in some element of balance. That's what we need.
And so I think the key for all of this is to keep an open mind when you hear the things that are coming out of the media, whether that's the idea of, any of the buzzwords that we'll talk about, tariffs, sustainability, diversity, equity, whatever the word is, you have to understand what it actually means and what we're doing, not what other people are telling you that it means and what it's doing.
That's right. Get educated. Get educated. We can't. This is no different. Every administration has created fear and concern, and so this is no different than anything else. We have to stay calm, get educated, go to our associations, learn from those people that are in Washington and studying it, talk to our peers. Being at an event like this and being able to talk to our peers when all this is going on, what a great way to network. I mean, we talked about it last night, right? So it's just stay calm, because the last thing our employees need to know is fear from the boss. Yeah. We got to stay calm.
It's like you hear it said all the time, it's like a duck, right? On the surface, they're calm and smooth. The underwater, their feet are like flipping out like crazy. Yep. We have to be calm for our team and for the people around us. People like consistency and calm. You don't have to have all the answers right away.
No. And we need to be positive. I mean, I'm very bullish about manufacturing right now. Right, wrong, or indifferent, the administration is a business-friendly environment. They're a manufacturing-friendly environment. So hopefully we do see some reshoring. We see some balance. We see some work come back. We also are coming out of a light recession. So I think in the back half of this year, you're going to see a lot of demand and growth. There's a couple industries like automotive that are retooling a bit, pulling away from battery electric, going to hybrid. That's going to drive more business for our tool makers, for our molders, our stampers. So there's a lot of really good things on the horizon for the balance of the decade. We got to take advantage of that and go sell into it.
I agree. So when people start to freak out, when they hear more things about tariffs, when the news is going, where do you suggest people go to get accurate, real information that they can kind of sink their teeth into and bank on?
You have to go to your associations, your lobbyists that work for those associations, your peer group. You can't go to CNN and Fox.
No.
You're not going to get the right story, right? So we have to create some balance, but not just one person. Go to your board of advisors, go to your peers, go to your friends in the industry. But all of the people that you and I work with, they're members of the AMBA, the American Mold Builders, the MAP, the Association for Plastics, the PMA for Stampers. We got to go to those groups.
Plastics Association. There's so many places that are all fighting and lobbying on behalf of manufacturers to make a difference so that we can bring the things back that we need to bring back. Now, I think it would be foolish and short-sighted to say that everything is going to be made in America.
No, it's never going to happen.
It can't.
No, it can't.
And I think when you and I say, like, bring Made in America back, we understand that completely.
Right.
There's certain things that is going to be unreasonable. But for the mold making, for the manufacturing, for those things, there is a definite need because it is part of what makes the country run.
100%. There's not a product we make in this country that doesn't require a tool, an injection mold, or a stamping die. So it's a very pivotal part of our industry. And as you've heard me say many times, we still as companies have to get better every day. Yes. We have to compete. We can't sit back and just complain about tariff in China and everything else. We got to go to work.
And we have to tell people what makes it different.
Absolutely.
Right? When cost is a situation, you have to improve both in your cost. You have to figure out how to get lean. Yep. You have to figure out how to be able to compete in those areas. And then you have to be able to show value for the increase in charging.
Absolutely. Yep. And people.
Yes.
Develop the young generation of manufacturing people.
Yes, we definitely have to continue to grow all those different sectors. Tell people real quick what you're doing at Wipfli.
Well, I'm a partner at Wipfli, which is a national tax and advisory firm. So we took our small little company and we joined Wipfli to make an impact in manufacturing. We have 9,000 manufacturing clients plus, 9,000 plus at Wipfli, doing their tax work, doing technology projects with them, doing consulting like we do. So we're in doing strategic planning, we're doing process improvement, and we're doing a ton of benchmarking. Hundreds of companies participate in our benchmarking studies. So our goal is to make manufacturing great again.
I love that. And you have vested interest. And I think what's great and why I wanted to talk with you is because you are meeting with so many people that are in this space that are struggling with what was and kind of rejoicing in what is becoming and coming out of what we were coming out of, right? Like you and I talked a lot about it when COVID happened. That when COVID happened and President Trump came in before, we saw an increase in manufacturing being done in the U.S. For a number of reasons, right? You couldn't get things in and out of China. You couldn't go visit China or other countries at all. It doesn't even have to be China. But we saw an increase in productivity and manufacturing happening in the U.S. And it was like, this is inevitable that it's not going to last. Like, it's amazing right now, right? Like, companies are busy, busier than they have been in a long time. We're hiring more people. We're putting out more products. We're doing more stuff. But we both knew this is short-lived because greed is going to kick in.
Well, and we have returned to pre-COVID demand levels.
Right.
The data shows we're doing about what we were doing in 2019, regardless of your industry, right? So the automotive industry is still not back to 18 million units, and there probably never will be. So things have adjusted, but we saw huge efficiency improvement, like 30% growth in our benchmarking of efficiency of manufacturing, plastic, stamping, everything. Problem is margins shrunk. And margins shrunk because costs went up. So we have to continue to fight that cost battle. And we've got to think about new ways to engage utility players, smart, young people who are excited about manufacturing that can wear multiple hats, so that we might pay them more, but they might do more.
Oh, I love that. Because if you're gonna do more, you should get paid more.
Absolutely.
You prove yourself to be more valuable to the company and to the industry and honestly to the world, right? Like the more skills you learn, the more things you take on, the more you can do for other people and continue to grow.
Absolutely.
Where can people go to get like some of that benchmarking information and the things that you were talking about? If they're interested and they say like, listen, Tony and Laurie had all this great stuff to say, but I want to see the data for myself.
Well, we publish reports all the time for these associations. So, I mean, you can reach out to me at laurie.harbour@wipfli.com, and we can get that information to them. A lot of the associations we work with are publishing that data. So if you just reach out to us at Wipfli or reach out to you and you can get them to me, we can absolutely point them in that direction.
I would love to do that. Laurie, thank you for everything that you do for the industry. I saw you walking by and I knew that you were the exact perfect person to talk to about this, just because of your depth of industry knowledge and everything that you do and really your passion. So thank you for everything you do. I really, really appreciate you. Thanks for taking time and talking to us about tariffs. Now we are going to go back to the desk with Ann. Ann, take it away.
Hey, y'all.